Okay, something really quite different today on the podcast. And there's a number of reasons why I'm doing something very different today, which I hope will become very clear as we progress. But first of all, I just want to bring into the room somebody who's been working in the field of holistic self-development and well-being for around 20 years. She's a speaker, a spiritual mentor, a guide, a Reiki Master, a healer. She particularly likes working with horses. She's the voice behind Journeys Into Stillness meditation program and the founder of Awakening Events. In 2012, she offered a talk called Wake Up, the World is Changing. So I think you'll agree that it is absolutely deeply relevant that I introduce you to Nikki Leader today on the podcast. Welcome, Nikki.
Thank you. Hi, lovely to speak to you. We've been waiting for this opportunity.
Oh my goodness, haven't we? And just for the people listening, I just feel that I need to be very transparent here. Nikki's actually my friend, and I want to be transparent about that because we met about 15 or so years ago now on a holistic therapy course. And we were doing holistic massage, and I remember we had to do swaps, and you did a massage on me, and I got up off the table and I said, I don't know what you just did there, but I think you did something differently than what everyone else is doing. And of course you were working with energy, and you were working on a much deeper level, and I'm not even certain looking back that you knew how deeply you're working. And before I hand over to you, I just want people to also know that you came up to me. When she gets talking, everybody, you'll hear she's got the most gorgeous, very posh voice. You came up to me and you said, I've got to tell you, you're just letting your energy out absolutely everywhere. You need to rein it in. And I said, well, thank you. Yes. And I totally knew what you meant, because I do give so much energy. And if you don't know what you're doing with that, that can be so draining, so tiring, and so debilitating. But today, the reason I've asked you to spend some time on the podcast is because you're kind of one of the few people that I go to. Like everyone has friends for different things. Well, when I really need to work through some shit, right, I'll ring Nikki. And the reason I ring you is because you're operating in some other plane that is beyond what's in front of us all. So that's why, while we've got all this stuff going on and my energy today is poor, and I woke up feeling very debilitated, I just felt absolutely pulled to share some of your wisdom with people who listen to my podcast.
Perfect timing.
So from Nikki's worldview, the world of Nikki, where do we even begin? And I just want to say as well, and I realise I've just been talking so much, but I just want to say as well that Nikki's going to leave us with loads of tips at the end and loads of stuff to do. So that's a really big positive. So Nikki, come on, what on earth is going on?
Okay, so from the world of Nikki, and first of all, I'd like to say hi to everybody who's listening, because I think most of the people who are listening to this podcast and who work with Lisa are doing incredible work, and it's really much needed right now. But a little bit I was reflecting on the applause that the NHS got last night, and how everybody is sort of rallying together, and where we are right now. And I don't think anybody would argue that this is a call for change. It's a rally and a call for change. The world is unraveling. I'm not a qualified astrologer, but I do and have been following astrology for many, many years, because I really believe that we are human beings with two main connections that we have no control over. One is the sky and one is the earth. And they are both living beings and part of a universe that we're inhabiting, and actually we're really visiting it, to be honest, as human beings. I am seeing this virus actually from a sort of spiritual perspective, but it's affecting us all physically. Now, when something affects us physically, it actually has a much deeper root to it. Everything has a deeper root to it. And what I think this is a golden opportunity for is for everybody to clearly stop, which is what everybody's being asked to do. I've always had a belief and a faith. I come from a place that says everything happens for a reason. I know lots of people have heard that, but sometimes you can be at a real loss as to finding that reason, because sometimes there just doesn't seem to be one, or certainly not a rational reason, because we all like things to be perfect. We all like the comforting things, the loving things. We're all great when everything's fine. But when we're really challenged and tested is when we have to look a lot deeper into ourselves. And sometimes that doesn't look pretty. I've been there many times before. But I absolutely, to my bones, believe that if we have the courage to go there, that is where the gold is. That is where the nuggets of our truth and our power, that is where they stem from. So anybody listening to this, if they can just bear with me on this, and as we go through this podcast, it'll become clear. And as Lisa said, I'm going to give some practical and sort of energetic tips at the end of this podcast.
So that was, I mean, I'm really with you on that. Certainly the whole idea around having to stop, and I'm on my own, which I must have said every day about 3 or 4 times a day. So there's something really interesting going on for me. And it came to me today what it is. And of course, my work is around connection and helping people deepen and develop that connection. Ironically, my childhood wound is disconnection.
Yeah.
I say ironically, of course it's not ironic, but you know, my childhood wound is disconnection. And today something happened and I was like, ping. And I had connected with somebody, and I'd gone onto one of their groups on Zoom this week and had a really nice time. And this is really silly, but it was very learned. They unfollowed me afterwards on Instagram, and I was like, what's going on? We connected.
Disconnecting from you.
Yeah, what happened? We connected. I offered you connection. We had connection. We had a nice time. I've been back on your website and I've booked another session and paid for it, and you've disconnected. And I just thought this whole week for me, you know, in terms of those mirrors and in terms of what's showing up for me, that is the stuff that I haven't quite yet clearly worked through at the depth that I'd really like to. So I think I just share that because I think sometimes it's hard to know what your stuff is. I'm used to being confronted by my stuff.
Yeah.
And it still is sometimes difficult to see it. And it took me all week. And somebody's who was probably just tidying up their Instagram account. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally not personal. So I think that's really interesting, isn't it? That what those childhood wounds are, and when we stop, we are really left in that place of having to start that process, or we're depending on how many decades you've been trying to heal the childhood wound.
Yeah.
That's where we're heading, isn't it?
It is, but also when you know that you're a mirror of actually everything else that's also happening globally, and what's happening globally is equally a mirror of yourself. So we're tapping into all sorts of parts of ourselves that we have never had an opportunity to tap into before. And everybody in isolation or self-isolation is going to go through a process, and I don't think anybody should underestimate the process emotionally, mentally, holistically that everybody is going to go through right now. And there are a few sort of key things that I think are really important. If you're in an environment where you're living with other people, so you're in external relationship with somebody else other than just yourself, then I think it's really important. The word allowing came up really strongly for me at one stage, because when you live around other people's energy, you pick up vibes from other people, and that taps into your kind of external layers that you can't see, feel, hear, and touch. It's similar to when you walk into a room and you pick up a vibe that something either isn't right or, yeah, this feels great. And most of us are going to go through a process of unraveling that, and what it actually really does feel like to be in somebody else's space, somebody else's energy. So there are physical things that will be really important to understand, and that is, where are your boundaries? Where are your boundaries, and what is your truth? And the word allowing came up because I think one of the things that's going to trigger quite a lot of anger and angst is actually going to be people thinking that the other person is causing that angst. And what's really important is to actually understand that what they're doing is they're triggering something that's already in your internal world. It's within your childhood patterns. It's in a reality that you have created. And I think personal responsibility has to take pride of place right now, because I know that a lot of your audience are carers. They work in social services, they work in prisons and quite confined spaces where perhaps helping others is their priority and their primary role, which is what they do. But how they are in that primary role has to take them back to themselves. And we are all a work in progress. Energetically, we're a work in progress. And this is a comfort zone that potentially could become very uncomfortable. But what I would really urge your listeners to pay attention to is whatever comes up is not a result of somebody else's behavior. It is a trigger that is already internal within you. And what would be really useful is just to either listen to a meditation or something, just for you to take responsibility that this is about you, because this is absolutely about each individual right now. And every action and every piece of growth that is going to be a result of what we're actually going through right now is going to help everybody move forwards. But that is going to be a process that's going to happen at very different times for everybody. It's going to have very different effects on other people, and how you come out of this is going to be a choice. It's going to be a choice of how deeply you want to accept your personal responsibility in the reality that you've created. And that sometimes is a reminder, and that's really what a lot of this is. A lot of it is just reminding us that actually there are either more important things, there are responsibilities we can take without projecting them onto other people. The blame game right now has got to stop. This is part of the call to change, is that it's never about anybody else. What is being triggered for you, what makes you feel uncomfortable and disempowered, and feeling like you don't have any choice, that is something to really look at within yourself. And it leads into the archetypes, and perhaps what part of your personality do you project onto that person, which at one time was comfortable, but now could become very uncomfortable as you spend quite a lot of time in their space.
That's so beautifully broken down. And I mean, I talk a lot about triggers in my training and try and help people distance themselves from behavior. So behavior is something that's conveying something, not something to take personally. But I rarely would have the opportunity to articulate that in the way that you just have, and have that space that helps really layer what that means. And I think the freedom that comes from knowing that something is your own stuff. When that happened to me earlier, knowing that that's my stuff around disconnection, and actually disconnection is what I'm dealing with all week, every day. That's what's showing up for me over and over again, helps me understand that is the stuff that I have to work on. If you don't have that knowledge, or you haven't done the a certain level of therapeutic work in whatever form to know that, then this must feel quite frightening then. If for the first time you're having to be so slowed down and so in close proximity with people who you don't want to be, or you might think you want to be, and then you think, I don't want to be. Then that's going to be quite painful and difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think if people can connect up with that, there's loads on social media now. There's a community out there. The world is a community. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners have communities of their own, whether it's family or whether it's work or wherever those communities are. It's really important to just understand. I think when I talk about bringing everything back to your own internal world, I think there are some really key things, and some of them are physical, and some of them are things that you can do to self-soothe and look after yourself. Imagine you go back to being a baby. For a really good one, I always find actually, is to imagine that you are the child, that you are the baby. What would you need from that right now? We all have unique and really important needs. But one of the things that's coming out of this is learning how to listen. It doesn't matter how many films, documentaries, or whatever David Attenborough does, we are not listening. And strip that back a little bit further. Nature is calling us. It's calling us back. We've closed down indigenous tribes. We've closed down everything that has universal wisdom and deep truth about how humanity can survive. And on an individual level, at a very physical level, in your moment today, it's a really good question to ask. What do I need right now? What do I need of that person? And without then asking that person, if you can, give it to yourself. One of the best things is just put your hand on your heart, that, or your chest. That's a really self-soothing thing. If you like to be stroked, just stroke yourself. On a physical level, one of the things that is going to be really important is to drink lots of water through this process. There are very basic human needs. One of them is to keep hydrated. None of us can survive without water. So, expand on that. Drink lots of water. When you refocus away from something that's negative, the best thing is always to focus on the positive, because everything has a flip side. You can't have one without the other. And if you need support in really struggling to find the positive or a silver lining in any of this, talk to somebody. Find somebody who you trust, because that's a really important thing, is to have a safe space and people around you who you can trust, whoever that might be. And if there isn't anybody that you genuinely feel you can trust, then, people can pray. Don't be frightened of actually asking yourself and just saying out loud, help, I'm lost. I don't understand what the hell this is about, and I'm really scared. I'm really scared. I don't know where this is going. This is uncharted territory, and it's okay to not know where this is going. And this part of yourself is buying into where you felt safe. And actually, what you felt safe in perhaps isn't going to give you the safety net moving forwards that you thought, because actually your faith and your grounding, in other words, some sort of connection, is really, really important. But I often find that if I sometimes stroke my little finger. That's one of the things that I do. I can't tell you why, but that's something that I can hold on to. And I hold one of my fingers, and maybe it's something my mother did, when I was a baby, I don't know. But if you hold your thumb, and I think I read somewhere years ago that there is something sort of psychological and physical about that movement. When you hold your thumb, there's something about it that feels really safe.
How many people are holding their thumbs right now? I've just grabbed my thumb. I'm holding my thumb. I mean, I do tap my fingers like this sometimes when I'm training, which is really strange. but it's very
Yeah.
self-soothing. It's very typical self-soothing type of behavior.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going to hold my thumb for a minute while you're talking.
Okay. So one of the other things is to ask yourself and come away, refocus, ask yourself, where would I rather be right now? Where would I rather be and why? Why would I rather be somewhere else other than where I am right now? So on many levels, you start to take responsibility of where you've put yourself right now. And on a deeper level, there is nowhere that you are that you haven't actually chosen to be. And I think that's
Oh,
yeah.
Nikki. Oh, that's
Well,
heavy.
that it is, but it buys into personal responsibility, and that is where's your comfort zone? Also, where are those boundaries? Where are those boundaries that you are prepared to take yourself? And everybody has different ones. I have different ones. You have different ones. We've had many conversations and sometimes uncomfortable ones. But what it's really helped us do is stretch ourselves just that little bit further into what is our truth. Because I'm sure, I know I've come off the phone sometimes for you and I thought, oh, okay, that's really interesting. It doesn't feel comfortable for me and it doesn't sit comfortably, but I completely get why, that could be her truth. But, wherever you take these conversations, yeah, that they can be really uncomfortable. I mean, let's look at death. Death is a subject that about, but is it, or is it a part of our truth and an absolute given? What are those things that are deeply true and out of our control? Are they the most uncomfortable things that we all want to look at? I'm thinking they may be. So perhaps along this, journey of wherever we're going, maybe occasionally it might be worth asking that of yourself. Where is my comfort zone? And can I take myself ever so slightly out of that comfort zone where I can be even more honest with myself? Without anybody mirroring that back to me, I might choose to take myself there because you will find a deeper meaning.
So what I want to ask people now, I want people to just pause for a moment and notice if they're having any resistance to what you're saying. Yeah. I just want people to just pause and think, what is going on when you're listening to Nikki say that? Because I think there is a huge resistance in taking that level of personal responsibility because it is uncomfortable. Of course it's uncomfortable. So I guess... Of course. So what I'm curious about is if people can just pause for a moment and feel what resistance feels like. What does resistance feel like? It feels like, well, it can feel like a whole range of things. I don't want to hear that. What does she know and who is she anyway?
Yeah, and I would ask anybody who's feeling that right now to put both feet on the ground and put your hands on your belly and breathe. So breathe in, take a long deep breath in, feeling your belly rise, and now breathe out and let go, and breathe out and feel your belly fall, and breathe in again and breathe out, and just keep feet on the ground. And allow whatever it is, it might be a heat in your chest. Sometimes that's how it reveals itself to me because your chest is around your heart. And just feel yourself on your chair or wherever you're listening right now. And bring yourself back to the present moment where you are right here, right now. Okay?
Lovely. And I love the question, if I wasn't here, where would I rather be? Mm-hmm. Because when you put that into the room and you said that, there isn't actually anywhere else I'd rather be right now. Right now, as uncomfortable as it is, this is where I would most rather be.
Yeah, and it's a good question for a journal. every day. You know, it's because that will change during this process. That's going to change every day. I'm sure that there are going to be days when you will love being where you are with your family or whatever, and it's all going to be fun and everybody's upbeat because their energy feels good. That is going to change. You know, you said to me your energy was very different yesterday than it is today. And so I think it's really important to, you know, if you are starting to struggle, journal, write down, or paint, or create something. Get into that space if of creativity, where if dancing is your thing, if singing, if artistic, poetry, whatever it is that takes you back to your joy and your passion. And we all have something, even if it's just sitting and closing your eyes and having a memory that is totally put you in your bliss, totally put you in your joy. Just close your eyes for a couple of seconds and take yourself back there and reconnect with joy, irrespective of what's going on externally. Just go inwards and reconnect with something that you remember or something that triggers joy. So this way, you're disconnecting from what doesn't bring you joy and you're reconnecting with something that does.
And that's why I've been painting all week. And I haven't actually, interestingly, I haven't been creating work things. And I'm fascinated by this because I've been self-employed for 10 years. And I think in the past I would have gone straight into, right, I need to create an online program, right, I need to have some webinars, right, I need to, and I haven't felt able to do any of that. I've literally come to a standstill. What's your feelings about that?
Well, I think it's fantastic. And I know that, you know, you've been doing a lot of this work for a long time, so it's probably a lot easier for you to do. I'm watching all sorts of processes online and where different people are at, and some are going to struggle with it. But that is because whatever is taking them in this process, whatever's taking them out of their comfort zone, if your comfort zone is you've been busy and doing, and you've been charging around the place, and your sort of modus, you know, your normal mode is to be busy doing, then what the challenge is be busy not doing or undoing or being, you know, which is the flip side of doing. And I think that also taps into boundaries in quite a big way. And the other thing is, we don't know how long this is going to go on for, this current global crisis. So perhaps there's always going to be an element of, should I be doing this? I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And I think that if you can find that space of stillness where you can let that go, even if it's for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, half an hour, whatever you feel comfortable with, then that is going to expand for you. So that sense of letting go, of understanding that not only are we going to pass through this, because that's how energy works. You know, we are in motion all the time. Energy is in motion, and we are energy ultimately. So there is no actual stopping. What we're actually doing by keeping still as humans is actually allowing that energy to settle. So whatever settles for you, you know, it's a bit like when you stir up a lake. You know, if you put your wooden spoon in something and stir it up, it all gets murky. And then when you allow it to settle, you get a clarity. And it might be for you that actually the clarity is, right now you trust that you're in the perfect place at the perfect time, and what you need to do right now is look after yourself and just relax. And when you get the sense and the feeling that the time is right, which it may come, but who knows when, or it may not, or it doesn't matter, that will be the best place to start. I mean, I'm a big fan of, you know, some people find this woo-woo, but divine timing or universal timing or perfect timing, whatever that is. And I think that also buys into control. You know, a very large awakening came for me when I had a car accident and my partner died. And strangely, from that day, I stopped wearing a watch. And I'd never been really good at wearing a watch because the nickel kind of made my wrist allergic. So it was never very uncomfortable. But I didn't realize what I'd done. until I had a chance to reflect on that. And during that process, which was quite a long one for me to unravel everything, the clarity came when I stopped doing what I normally did, which is actually what we're all being asked to do on a global scale, is stop doing what you normally do. Just try something different. Just try something different. And we have a huge opportunity to do that, which can be exciting and scary. You know, a lot of people don't like change. You know, they're very comfortable with their routine that they've set up. But all I can say is that whatever is on the other side of this is going to be greater, more than, and different as we move forwards. It may not be, it may be better, it may not be, but that's a choice, how you see how we move forwards. You know, I might see it as better, you may not. And that, again, that goes back to allowing everybody to see their truth. Whatever they see is what they see. But from my perspective, I choose for my day to be the best it can be. But I only allow myself one day at a time, because in the world of Nikki, there is only that. There is only that moment. I have no idea what is going to be asked of me tomorrow. And obviously, when I had my accident, my world flipped completely, and my entire life changed in a nanosecond. I can't even tell you how long it was. I don't know what that moment was, but that was a moment, and everything started to look different to the moment before that one moment. So I am fully aware of how in each and every moment something can literally flip on a sixpence.
And I guess that's a lot of what people are feeling right now. But I love the way that you framed that, you know, which is that we've been given this opportunity to try something different. Stop doing your normal. Here's a different kind of normal. Have a go at doing this, see how this feels. And I do absolutely feel very fortunately, I am able to pick up that I need to stop and to go with that, and to stop and to be okay with that. I feel very fortunate that I can do that. But as we sort of start to think about wrapping up, I was wondering what offerings you might have for people who aren't feeling very aligned with what's going on, who are really struggling, and particularly, you know, we started this off looking at energy, thinking about what can people do. I mean, you've already given, you know, lots of ideas for people, but is there anything else that you'd offer up that people can have a go at, to think about during this time?
Yeah, absolutely. And the tips and things that I can give, I just want everybody to understand that they might seem small, but don't underestimate the power of the effect that that's going to have. Obviously, breathing and breath work is really important. It's where your inspiration and creativity comes from. But to oxidize your body can actually, if you're not in a situation where you can move very far, or you can get outside, anything like that, I would look at a certain breath work. So if you've got access to the internet, Wim Hof is the new sort of breathing guru. But I actually personally have been doing on YouTube, he does a guided breath work, which is literally the picture of something pulsating, but he guides you. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And then you hold your breath. So it moves the oxygen around your body. Now, you don't have to move at all, but when I've done that, I felt incredibly energized. So that's something that you can do if you don't have very much space to move around in. There's also a yogi fire breath, where you put your, I put my fourth finger on one nostril, and I put my hand on my belly, and I breathe in and I breathe out. And what you're doing is you're actually starting to control. It also gives you a sense of control a little bit. It brings you back into your body, because fear, believe it or not, takes your energy out of your body. So you're not completely connected holistically. You're not in your body. So imagine your body as like a vessel. and you are your energy inside of that vessel. If you bash something against that vessel and you were water, the chances are water would spill out of it. So the energy will sort of spill and get scattered. Bring yourself back to your center through your breath. That's really important, and it's really helpful for grounding. If you can get outside, please take off your shoes. We live in a world of plastic. Trainers were potentially the worst thing that ever got designed, because it disconnected us from earth. If you can get your hands, or your bare hands or your bare feet, just to touch the earth, because in the earth there are physical minerals and ions that will draw out negative energy and will draw energy back down, and it's nourishing. So if you can't get near the earth and you can eat root vegetables right now. Very simple tips. Things that grow high in the sky, that's where the energy is. Things that grow down will connect you back to earth. So wherever you are feeling right now, if you're feeling anxious or you're feeling worried, drink water, use your breath, stop and find stillness. If you really feel like you need to shake some energy, imagine you're a volcano and start with your arms, shake your arms and keep shaking them and shaking them and shaking them. Then start to shake your shoulders, shake your body, shake your whole body as if you've got ants running all over it. Then take each leg, imagine your leg is covered in ants, shake them off, keep shaking them. Because also what you're doing is you're getting the energy flowing again that might be stagnant. That takes you into your head too much, so you think too much. And what you're doing with this exercise is you're dropping the energy back down into your body again. Rather than thinking and getting caught up in the drama, get back down into the soles of your feet. Massage your feet. That's a great one. Or if you're with somebody who you'd like them to massage, get them to massage your feet. That's a really, really key one. And you can do that yourself. And if you can get outside, if you've got a phone, which I'm pretty sure the majority of people will have one, find one thing and take a photograph of it on your phone. But find something really, really tiny, so that in that moment, you're focusing on something very, very small. And with that focus, you're probably actually just giving yourself a moment to stop. And then that picture you can look at all day, and that's a trigger that will connect you back to that moment of stillness when you took the photograph.
That's beautiful. And I'm feeling very pleased I had beetroot soup today. Totally rooted. And I love that. I had a macro lens once. I don't have it anymore, but I had a lovely camera and a macro lens, which meant taking pictures of very small things became a really beautiful thing to do. And so little ladybirds, you could even get like pictures of ladybirds having sex and stuff, like on a
Is that good?
But with a macro lens, you can see, you can see the details and the eyes of the ladybird and all sorts of things. Amazing, absolutely amazing. So I totally get that. I feel slightly uncomfortable. I've said on the podcast that I have seen ladybirds having sex now, but absolutely.
But it brought you joy. It brought you joy. What's not to love?
Joy, yeah, and made me.
And that picture, you'll only take a picture of something that brings you joy. If it's not interesting, you probably won't be drawn to it. You won't take a picture of it. So do you see how everything interconnects? Everything you do will interconnect with a part of yourself, and how phenomenal, that you can dance your way through this, you can move, you can be still. Everything is a choice, and that will change every single day through this process.
Do you know what just came into my mind when you were talking? I was thinking about Nelson Mandela, funnily enough, because I remember one of the things that he said was something around, I might be a prisoner, you'll never have my mind. I'm sure he said that, something like that. And lots of what you're saying is really supporting the power, the control, the responsibilities that we do have, rather than where it would be really easy to focus on what we don't have right now.
Oh, 1,000%. And I think what we can and what we do of life, and we've forgotten that. You know, we've forgotten the magic, we've forgotten the mystery. It's all just been too quick, too fast, too wanting more. And we've been in that place of more than, more than, more than. But in that place of more than, actually what we've been doing is becoming less than, less than, less than. And I just love the opportunity now that we have to properly reconnect back with everything. And it is a mystery. You know, life is a mystery. We're not meant to understand it. You know, we'll all pop our clogs and disappear back to wherever you believe you've come from, or just disappear, whatever that belief is that people have. But what a shame not to enjoy the mystery. And the mystery comes, you know, we all know that the description of mystery is, I don't know what's going to happen, you know, and can you find the magic in the mystery? That's what I would ask. And I believe every adult who was once a child lived through that lens of magic and mystery.
I think that's a beautiful place to stop, Nikki. And I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to put all your details.
Loved it.
Oh, I'm glad you did. I'm going to put all your details for people as well. So if they want to listen to some of your meditations and visual meditations, that they can do that and just generally be able to connect with you. So Nikki, thank you so much. And I will speak to you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.